this is the role of a spiritual covering, okay? Two things a spiritual father or a spiritual mother will do to you. Two things a covenant relationship will bring into you, okay? Number one, the motive of a spiritual covering is to make sure, if I have spiritual daughters, then my goal is to make sure that Christ is formed in them. Christ is formed in them. That means they understand really who Jesus is. And the more they understand who Jesus is, the more they will understand who they are. And the more they understand who they are, their language will change. And the more you speak the language of God, you will see the manifestation of God come into your life. So the number one role of a spiritual covering, okay, whatever covering you are under, okay, the motive of that covering, you need to check whether that is happening in your life. Is that covering labors so that Christ is formed in you. It is, look at this verse. Paul is saying in Galatians chapter 4 verse 19. He says, "My little children, for whom I labor in birth again, until Christ is formed in you." Paul is saying, if there's something that he is comparing his contribution to a believer's life, he's comparing himself to a mother who goes into great labor, okay, who goes into labor in order to push a child out. And Paul is saying, my little children, I am in great labor. So this is a spiritual covering. It's not just somebody coming to you and teaching a word and disappearing. It's not somebody just giving you instructions. It's much more deeper than that. Okay, it's not just somebody preaching a sermon to you. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm sure and I hope that you have pastors in your life who carry, who travail. Because I'm telling you, anybody who God calls to lead, by default, that person carries the heart of the Father. It has to come, the Father's heart has to come. That's why churches in the West are in a miserable state, because they have pastors who are not called, okay, and they work for a salary. And then one fine day a transfer happens and they get a better job in the West, okay, and they move to the next job. For them, it's a job. For some pastors, it's just a job. It's just looking at some sermons and preaching, and that's it. But I pray and I believe and I thank God that every one of you has pastors who carry the heart of the Father, who travail. That's the number one role of a spiritual father. He is laboring, not physically he is not running behind you to make sure you are doing well physically, okay? That's not a spiritual father. That's your natural father. He's not, the one who is catering to the needs of your flesh, but a spiritual father, a spiritual covering is somebody who's travailing, who's praying for you, who's sowing seeds in you so that Christ may be formed in you. That is the number one role of a spiritual father. And the second one, the role of a father is to push you into your God destiny. He is If there's one job he's good at, that's pushing you into your destiny, because every one of you has a destiny, right? And you will be the most satisfied when you are functioning the way God desires you to function. Otherwise, there'll always be a vacuum in your heart. Always you'll come back to the same question: what is this? What is happening in my life? Am I in alignment with God? What is God desiring? This is where a spiritual father or a covenant covering comes in and pushes you into your destiny. So, how it is, okay, God has destined for every one of us to move from point A to point B. Okay, we start at point A, every one of us, and God wants us to reach to point B. Okay, and there are two ways in which you can do that. If I have to go to Shillong, if Shillong is my point B and I am in Mumbai, I have two ways to do it. Either, I will sit with the map, I will figure out how far Shillong is, I will try to see what road I can take. If at all there is a road, I have to dig and make road. If there are seas, then I have to make sure that there is some boat that is available to me, or I have to make my own boat. And I'm doing this research on my own, and I'm trying to figure out how can I reach from Mumbai to Shillong on my own. Okay, that is way number one. And if I am smart, I will realize that this way is far too exhaustive. If I take this path and try to figure out this journey on my own, I will lose a lot of time. I will drain myself, I will drain my resources. And in the end, when I am 120 years old, I will ring the bell in Sister Lari's house in Shillong, ting tong, and finally I'll say I've arrived. We don't have so much time. That's a foolish way of journeying. Okay. So, as I said, if I am intelligent, if I have to reach from point A to point B, if I have to reach from Mumbai and I have to reach to my destiny in Shillong, a better way that I can do is, I know that somebody has created an airport already. There are airlines existing already. There is ticketing system well in place. So if I am intelligent, I will just book a ticket and land there. Okay? That's the power of your spiritual covering. That's the power of your covenant relationship. It is to tell you that you don't have to journey in reaching your destiny alone. But there is a bridge that you can take. There is a bridge that you can step on and cross over. So your spiritual covering is a point of crossover for you into your destiny. Isn't that powerful?